are back with the amazing April Webster. Thank you again so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
This has been such an inspiring conversation. I cannot even tell you guys. This is just yes, all the things.
So we want to ask you, and maybe you're going to be humble about it, but at the level you're at, you must have cast people who you know that this may be the new career for them, or showing the world, and you see something special about them. Are there unique? Are there people out, that recently or in memory that you go, wow, like I was there for that, or I could see?
When we were casting Bates Motel, there was a young woman who put herself on tape from Manchester, Olivia, and we saw her and instantaneously knew that she was the girl for the role. Oh. There was just no question. And very soon after the world saw her, she started booking movies. Oh. And it was from her work on Bates. Also, Evangeline Lilly, when we, she was put on tape by the casting director in Canada. Oh. And we narrowed down the casting director's auditions to her and Colby Smulders, interestingly enough. Whoa. And I work with J.J. Abrams quite a bit, and one of J.J.'s sort of tells, if you will, is that he'll go, she could be the girl. And we all go, good, that's great.
You're trying to remain calm.
After you've seen like 700 people.
Oh my gosh.
But Evangeline had never really done anything. She was a ghost in Kingdom Hospital. She had like one of those 900 call ads things.
Oh my gosh.
But, so lovely, so fresh. And that really sort of began her career. Let's see, Kevin Costner was working as a stage manager at Sunset Gower. He's this he's an old
guy. You should look him up. You might find him.
What project?
Kevin was already, he was non-union, and there was
That's great to hear.
And I used to work at Zoetrope when Zoetrope was in Los Angeles, and I was going through the non-union pictures, because it was a non-union thing. Jim Wilson was directing a movie. Jim had been known for doing like sports movies. Mm-hmm. And I found this guy leaning up against a tree with this very like accessible look, and I kept trying to, I brought him in, and we all went. It was Jim Wilson and Michael, I'm blanking on his, Michael Blake.
Oh,
and we brought him in, and we had a hat everyone was using, and we just said, if this guy can act, he is the guy, right? Well, his reading was great. I mean, it was fantastic. Now, other people had known him, but this is what brought him and Michael Blake and Jim Wilson together to make, all the movies that they did for TIG.
Yeah.
And it was a movie called Double Down about gambling up in Reno, Nevada. And we all were up in Reno. We did casting up in Reno, and it was really
wow.
So just checked into a rehab center after that, because we were night shooting. And I'd wake up to Mexican coffee, but it was great because, and Kevin still acknowledges that. I think I bumped into him after a movie, that black and white movie that he did, and he said, "I just was talking about you on biography about her." And he's
and that must feel so rewarding for you.
It does, because we don't do it for that. We do it to help the actors have access, right? So when people really get an opportunity from it, and their talent really shows through, a lot of times that's all people need.
Yeah.
Can I ask you then, at your level, I'm not sure, but you were talking about self-tapes, and and that in the industry is changing. What are your thoughts on that? And when people just unsolicited, or such a big question, but what are your thoughts?
Right. Okay. I would never, if I was an actor, I would not send unsolicited material. We often get material that has been not requested, and my policy generally is to not look at it. If I happen to look at it and you happen to be right, then I might take it further.
Yeah.
But it's really kind of a violation in a way. It's not something that you do. But self-taping, because we live in a global industry right now, is what everyone is doing. And I was saying earlier that this is the number one question. Whenever I've been at film festivals and I do panels like at Kilkenny and a couple of the other places, and it's the very first question Euro actors ask as well. And the thing that I would say is that make sure that you have good lighting, that you have good sound, and that you get yourself a good reader.
Oh my gosh, yes. We actually
reader.
did an episode on this where those 3 key things were what people, and you would not believe, like we were talking about it. I have a whole setup at home, like a ring light and cowboy lights and a backdrop. Like it's needed because if that's the quality.
Because then you can show yourself. Then everything, you don't want distractions.
Right, and the dog is barking in the back and we can handle, but the fact of it is that a lot of people, for example, will not have the other lines read. They'll just read their lines.
Oh.
And I know that the producers sort of get a little glitch about
Yeah.
it. So, and the reason I say have a good reader is that can be very distracting.
Right.
We just had an audition where this guy read with his 14-year-old brother who didn't know how to pronounce one of the words. And so we were laughing about the reader saying, God, if he can keep his attention through that, then let's have him at least re-tape, and do it
That's
again.
such a sweet way to look at it.
Well, that's really nice, yes.
When you're looking at 700 tapes, it's not always, 700
Right.
tapes, it's an exaggeration. But yeah, that's what you want to have. I mean, you want to have someone who can read with you. You want to have another eye, so it's not just you. And the great thing about doing self-tapes is that you can do multiple takes. You don't want to get crazy, though. And because we usually ask for 2 takes.
Okay.
Because that way we have, you can give us something a little bit different, which might give us a different way of looking at your auditions. So.
And the 2 takes you would like to be obviously contrasting.
Yeah, they don't have to be like majorly contrasting, but sometimes the smallest tweak can change things. Before I start talking about teaching, which I do love to do, I just wanted to mention one other thing, and this is for the actors coming in, is that all you can do is come in and do the best job that you can do. You don't know what is happening outside of the room. You don't know if the director hated his sister who was a redhead. You don't know any of those things.
It's so true.
And everyone has a different prom queen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some, you know what I mean?
I love that tagline.
Isn't that,
Everyone has a different prom queen.
Everyone, and they do. There's people that you just are naturally attracted to, right? It could be someone who looks like your wife. It could be someone who looks like your husband. It could be, so you have a tendency sometimes to lean towards that.
Which is completely out of their control.
A director isn't telling you don't know when you're going to be seen or be heard, but you have to be ready, And so I like that. It's like you can't control that the room you walk into. You can control what they're thinking, but you can control your work.
Right, and also you can take the room. You can spread your energy over the room. And when I say that, what I mean is that you don't have to be just affected by the room, by what's happening there, because they just lost $1 million in their budget or whatever else it happens to be. You can draw the focus and get everybody centered, and that is something that you can do. So if you come in and really take the room, then even if the audition wasn't like exactly spot on, we will remember. We'll say, remember that person? They were so present in the room. And I've cast people who we've seen in one movie audition 2 years later in another film.
Oh, that's great. That's like booking the room. That's
were
the
just
goal of
talking
booking the room is to being able to have that relationship and have it lead somewhere. Speaking of that, we're completely inspired. I feel like you must do things on a daily that inspire you. And I think one of those things you were mentioning is you love teaching.
Right. Well, this goes to just a lot of the training that I've had myself and the inward journey that I always try to practice, that I keep working on myself. I think that that's a big part of being an artist. I think working on yourself and taking a look at certain things in your life. It's like, that book about what brings you joy, getting rid of the
Spark of joy.
The spark of joy.
Yeah.
So, but that has to do with what's in your life too, not just, I think the objects are just outward manifestations of that.
The intention.
Yeah. You have to know what you need and what you don't need anymore. If you want to go to language, like a 12-step type of language, it's about dropping the rocks. It's like, do I still need to hold on to something that had plagued me through my whole childhood that has nothing to do with who I am as an adult right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
And how is that keeping me from being as open and as present as I could be? So when I'm working with actors, whether I'm working with them in the audition room or I'm working with them in a classroom situation, I want to really hear what they're saying, not try to impose my opinion on them, but just to try to see what's really there. try to see what's there and how I can bring that out.
Oh, wow.
And that's, that comes from being a director, that comes from being a person who does this kind of work for myself. And also when I teach, I try, what I do with my work is to just give people a space to look at themselves in a different kind of way that's not about beating themselves up. I spent so many years of my life just judging everything that I did. My harshest judge was myself, and often that's the case with people. I would talk to myself the way I would never speak to anyone else in my life. So I had to take a look at that. Is that a practice that I really want to continue? Are there other practices in my life that would be more beneficial to me? So that's kind of what I bring into my teaching at the same time as I said, of using acting as the medium, because it's so available to that. Being an artist, that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with your heart, you're dealing with your soul, you're dealing with your imagination, you're dealing with your freedom.
Yeah. So what would you say helps you to open up that on a daily basis? I know how important you were talking about being an artist and living that and really just...
A complex, rich life.
Yeah, living a rich artistic life because, art is in everything that we do, and sometimes I think that's easy to forget.
When people ask me what would be the one thing that I would tell actors, that's exactly what I would say. I say, have a full, rich life. Go to museums, go to movies, go to other countries, learn to speak other languages.
Yeah.
You want to enter into other cultures so that you can be empathetic to other people. And as an actor, as an artist, that's something that's so important. You have to be able to acknowledge all the influences around you. So
it's just amazing to talk with you and to understand that no matter what career you do, it's intention and passion that come full force. And so whatever body instrument you have, you don't know what's going to happen, but if you're present and you're able to breathe.
And really just focus on, the work about it. I mean, this has been such a great conversation. I can't thank you enough. We are so excited to have you here. Where can people find you on social? Do you like...
I don't have a website, but
okay.
But I am always, I'm all over the web so people can see me. And I just want to, if I might, just add one thing. And that is when you said about intention. Because this is what's so important. It's about how clear we are about the things that we want to focus in on our lives. And intention is really important. The other important part of that is to not be attached to an outcome, but to allow it to take you in a direction and then, again, to be able to see everything around you. Sometimes we think it can only look one way, but if you have the intention of how you want to live your life, then you can just open your eyes to everything else that's around you, and then you can see the opportunities that are there. I thought I wanted to be an actor, and look at what happened. I never knew that this was going to happen in my career. So, sometimes it just looks a little bit different, but just keep saying yes, and no to the right things that you don't need to do, the things that are destructive or toxic. But keep saying yes so that you get those experiences and know what works for you.
True and wise words from Miss April Webster.
Yes, inspiring. We need to tweet everything
and stay
you said
the course.
today.
And how inspiring it is that you didn't know necessarily I'm going to become a powerful, huge casting director necessarily in that order. You're just passionate about what you were doing, interested in storytelling. And thank you so much for joining us.